Now we come to the meat of this presentation, which is the 11 building blocks of a resilient, responsive, and relevant ICC's IP's ancestral domains. These building blocks refer to indispensable activities that should be undertaken in order to achieve a resilient, responsive, and relevant ICC's IP's ancestral domains. It is noteworthy to mention and emphasize that these ingredients or building blocks are mandatory activities if we are to achieve the goal of having resilient, responsive, and relevant ICC's IPs within our ancestral domains. On the left side, leftmost column, you will see the IPRA provisions, which serve as the legal basis for the building block. Then, next to it are the guidelines and policies promulgated by the NCIP to support the legal provisions. In the third column, you will find the implications or the consequences if these activities are not conducted. The first building block can be likened to the foundation or posts of a house, without which, no matter how beautiful or tall a house is, it would be nothing. It would easily crumble if not founded on solid uh, footings. So for the first building block, this is the registration. Why do I'm sorry, confirmation of IPs. Why do we have to do this? The Council of Elders and tribal leaders have to be identified and recognized, including their successors. This will ensure that the ascension of new leaders. The next building block is the registration and accreditation of IPO or IPOs. Why do we have to do this? To ensure the continuity of legitimate leadership. The IPOs have to be registered first and then strengthened and operationalized. Again, we have the IPRA provisions, the legal basis, guidelines, and the implications. The third building block is the CADTI or CALTI delineation process. CADTI stands for Certificate of Ancestral Domain Title. CALTI stands for Certificate of Ancestral Land Titles. Why do we have to delineate? We now realize that although the issuance of these certificates are not mandatory under IPRA, however, these have become desirable because the tendency of investors and even the oppositors to these claims to demand proof of ownership. Hinahanapan palagi ng papel ang mga community. So, we deem it necessary, no, not desirable and beneficial to issue these certificates to prove that they have an ancestral domain or ancestral land. These are the legal basis, guidelines promulgated, and these are the implications. The fourth building block is the establishment of the ADMO, Ancestral Domain Management Office. Why do we have to do this? The first indicator of self-governance is an efficient and effective management system, which is usually manifested by the physical existence of an office. Thus, whether under a tree or a small hut or in a small corner in an existing house, there must be a visible center of government. IPRA provisions, guidelines, and implications. The fifth building block is the ATS-DPP formulation. ATS-DPP meaning Ancestral Domain Sustainable Development and Protection Plan. What is the significance of this? Effective management is the result of a good plan that is self-sufficient and sustainable and able to survive the challenges and obstacles in life. The ATS-DPP provides the opportunity to achieve this objective. Legal basis, guidelines, and the implications. The sixth building block is IP wealth management for the formulation of the CRMDP, Community Resource Management Development Plan. Why do we have to do this? Even before the community receives its royalties, its rentals, and other benefits, there must be a framework already on how to receive and disburse such resources. This will ensure that the resources of the community are not dissipated and are spent in accordance with the identified needs of the community and in accordance with its plans and programs. Legal basis, guidelines, and implications if we do not do this. The seventh building block is the institutionalization of certificate precondition or the FPIC process or the EPR process. What is this FPIC? FPIC, free prior informed consent, is basically, in a manner of speaking, asking permission or granting permission to investors and even government agencies to use lands within ancestral lands and ancestral domains. Paghihingi po ng pahintulot. Nobody would dare enter, for instance, the property of Camellia Homes to construct any project there without the consent of Manny Villar, even if the project is for his benefit. Nobody would dare do that without his consent. The same principle should apply to ancestral domains. The same respect should be accorded to our ICCs and IPs because ancestral lands and ancestral domains are private properties that are communally owned. Okay. Legal provisions, guidelines, and implications if we do not do this. The eighth building block is an effective IPMR in the local legislative bodies. IPMR meaning Indigenous Peoples Mandatory Representation. In every LGU that has an IP community, if an LGU has an IP community, that community is entitled to representation in the local legislative unit, be it a barangay, municipality, city, or province. There is a danger here, however. There is a tendency to regard the IPMR as the center of power. This should not be the case. The center of power or the center of government should always be the Council of Elders. The IPMRs are merely representatives of the community. They should not be the center of power. Legal basis, guidelines, and implications. The ninth building block is the efficient and enhanced MOA, MOU, MOC formulation. MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, Memorandum of Understanding, or Memorandum of Cooperation. Why do you have to do this? The purpose is to prevent binding the IPs in disadvantageous agreements and situations, and also to prevent abuses that may be committed against investors. The destruction of the investors will prove to be counterproductive to the interest of the community, like killing the goose that lays the golden egg. So there has to be a perfect balance between the interest of the community and the interest of the investors. Legal basis, guidelines, and implications. The tenth building block is socio-economic activities with IP cooperatives. We call this the cooperativization of IP communities. The purpose is to provide them with legal standing, not only legal standing, but also juridical personality, similar to that granted to corporations registered with the SEC. This is another way of enhancing the resource generating abilities of the IPs. In 2017, MOA was entered into by and between NCIP and the CDA, Cooperative Development Authority. You just have to follow up and follow through with this undertaking. The last, these are legal basis, guidelines, no guidelines yet, but we have already one MOA. Implications. The final building block is the ancestral domain defense system. Okay. Why do you have to do this? We have no guidelines yet, but because this is a sensitive matter, the PNP, the AFP do not want to provide arms to the IPs, but they are being slaughtered in their lands. They are being evicted from their houses, their fields, their plants. Their houses are being burned. They are being thrown out of their own lands, and they have nothing to defend themselves with, while their oppressors have high-powered automatic rifles. So something has to be done about this quickly. Legal basis guidelines, no guidelines yet. Although there is a directive from our NSA that we should prepare a framework for this and the implications. Okay. In general, if the 11 building blocks are not implemented properly, NCIP's reason to exist will cease, and the IP's lives, beliefs, institutions, spiritual well-being, and the lands that they own will be affected negatively. Support in the implementation of the 11 building blocks will bring to fruition the purpose of the enactment of the IPRA, which is correcting historical injustice. It also emphasizes that ancestral domains are privately owned by ICT's IPs and cannot be sold, disposed of, or destroyed, and that ICC's IPs have the right to manage the same in accordance with their customs, etc.